Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is May 2nd, 2018, and today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the economic events of the day, starting out at 10:30 South African time, coming out of United Kingdom, Construction PMI number. That's an important number. And then at 2:15 South African time, ADP Non-Farm Change, okay, employment change. That's an important number. That's a preliminary number really to the non-farm payroll that's coming out this Friday at 2 p.m., but that's another story later on in the week. And then at 4:30 South African time, weekly oil inventories numbers coming out. And lastly, the most important event of the day, and probably the most important event of the week as well, FOMC statement funds rate coming out of the United States at 8 p.m. South African time. Now remember, we're in a little bit of a storm here between two major news events, economic events, including the FOMC this evening at 8 p.m. and then on Friday we have the non-farm payroll. Now both of these numbers are going to be very significant in affecting our direction, I think mostly of the Dow Jones, which has its ripple effects on the currencies as well. So let's take a look at the markets and see what's been happening. So we're jumping first into the Euro USD and the GBP USD. USD getting much stronger here. Okay, there really hasn't been any sort of major bounce for the Euro USD or the Euro or the GBP. As you can see here, we're below 20. We just dipped a little bit below 28 pips this morning, just as you can see. But this thing is falling out of bed, and the next real support level is 118-ish, 118.80-ish. So that's something to consider as we've sold off here. Now the question is that whether or not this sell-off is just in anticipation to the FOMC and then we're going to just take it back later. That's something to consider. But as it stands right now, we've been very weak versus the dollar, and there's correctional moves across the board. So, with that said, the Euro USD I think has played catch up to the sell-off. Okay, if we look at the GBP USD, it's at 136, which is further down than comparatively if we compare the two graphs, okay, between the Euro, the USD, and the GBP USD. As you can see here, we got to that next support level, whereas in the Euro USD, you can see we have it. Okay, we're just nowhere near a support level. So the euro relatively, I guess you could say, is stronger, even though it's sold off versus the dollar, than the GBP. GBP really flirting with disaster here at 136. If we don't get this bounce and we break it, heck, we could get even down to the 133, 132-ish level, which is, a crazy correction for the GBP USD. I do think that we'll get, though, a bounce here because this has really been a pivotal resistance twice, as you can see here, back in September of 2017 and earlier this year in December, end of December, and we kind of, this breakout has really been in anticipation of that. So, with that said, looking at a larger time frame, you could see that this really was a major resistance, okay, versus the potential support here at 136. So keep an eye on this. Now, this is obviously trading in tandem, okay, trading together, I guess you could say. Tandem is a better word for it, with the Dow Jones. Dow Jones getting a little bit stronger here, and that may be a catalyst for the Dow Jones getting stronger as the dollar gets weaker in that anticipation. Now, looking at the Swiss franc, we continued our rally up, as you can see here, 99.60-ish level. We really haven't taken a little bit of a breather at the beginning of the week, but as you can see, we continue to make this breakout. So if you guys made this trade, okay, on our call, let us know, because we did make this call last week to play the breakout here from this channel, and sure enough, you'd be making some pretty good money right here. Now keep in mind that at about 1, okay, there is a significant resistance. We still look like we want to go in the RSI. We're not above the 70 level, but it's something to keep in mind as we continue trading that. Looking at the USD ZAR, we passed that 1253 resistance. We're now at 1264, and that means we could get back to the possibly the low 1300s, and that's something that in the next week or so could happen. Okay, so this correctional move that we're having is really, it's completely symmetrical almost. So keep that in mind as this continues to correct itself versus the dollar. Aussie USD also dead here at 75. Really no catalyst to bring it out higher. And we're really flirting with disaster here, as you can see, at 75. And, if we do break this support level at 75, we could definitely go back to the 73-ish levels. So let's keep an eye on that as well. We called this earlier in the week on gold, selling between 1325. We broke this 1312, and guess what? We're at 1308. We traded as low as 1303 yesterday, which was a great trade. So if you did catch this, good for you. Now we're bouncing here a little bit. I anticipate that 1312-ish will be a resistance level, maybe 1315-ish even, and then we may see ourselves correcting ourselves back down to the 1293-ish levels. So let's take a look at that. Now looking at oil sold off yesterday, as you can see, to 67.58. Now we've been trading between this range of 69 and 67, and we're now at the bottom of the range. So let's take a look today with the oil inventories number coming out at 4:30, later today. Let's take a look at this and see, if we do get that bounce. Okay. I anticipate that we will. The market is still very bullish on the price of oil, so let's keep that on the radar as well. Dow Jones. Now, this is really the major play of the day. The FOMC really affects more than anything else the Dow Jones, and we had a tremendous sell-off, a tremendous run-up, a tremendous sell-off again. We're like a roller coaster here. Okay, we initially sold off from a previous Friday, almost 2 weeks ago, about 500 points. And then, we slowly gained that. It was a little bit more than 500 points. It was more like 700 points. And then we gained some of that back. And then we sold off again. And we're just yesterday, we dipped just at that point of 23,800-ish level, as you can see here. And then we rallied right back up. Okay, now we're at 24,000 flat, I would consider it. Now, on the larger scheme of things, we are still in a correctional mode. Okay, the question is that whether or not this is going to continue going up. Now, the sentiments in the United States, the economic sentiment is still very strong. So the FOMCs might raise interest rates, not because, for any other reason, but to keep inflation in check. Okay, when there's so much money being funneled to the market, when an economy is doing well, it's always, there's a creepy crawler called the inflationary number that sometimes crawls and decays the economy. So that's something to keep in consideration, that the FOMC is going to have to keep into consideration. So we may see and that might be a positive thing. Now, depending how the market actually reacts to it, that's the $1 million question, right? So that's something to consider later today as the FOMC. Now, if they do raise interest rates, I do expect the market to sell off. With that said, I do think that we'll have a correctional move, as we often do in these type of trading events, as fading the news, having that initial reaction, and then a correctional move. So keep that in mind as that we trade that later today. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.